Is the Tokyo Marui AKM still relevant? That was a question I asked myself this past summer, because I've wanted a gas blowback AK for a long time. Like most people, the gun I wanted was the VFC AK. But that gun has been completely out of stock for a while. So when I saw a used deal for a TM AKM with some mags, I decided to buy it. A lot of people have criticized the externals of the TM AKM, calling it toy-like. And while I will say it's not realistic, I would not say the externals are of low quality. The parts that are made of steel on the real thing are made of some kind of Zamac alloy on the TM, but I wouldn't say it feels cheap. In fact, it's probably more robust than some airsoft steel guns. The selector, however, feels rather toyish. Unlike a real AK, it's very smooth and doesn't have the raw feeling of steel on steel. And unlike a real AK, it's super easy to flick to each setting, which makes it much more easy to use, but also quite unrealistic. The wood furniture is not actually wood. It's instead made of plastic. It's very nice to look at, and feels okay in the hand. Similar to the selector, the gas tube and furniture fit together perfectly, and also come apart very easily. Is this realistic? No. But it makes for very easy disassembly, which I certainly appreciate. Obviously none of these externals are realistic, but there is one benefit. The TM AKM is less front heavy than the real thing. This makes the gun much more easy to maneuver than a real AK. Personally, I don't mind the unrealistic externals. They're strong enough for airsoft to use, and I appreciate the reduction in weight. The internals of the gun are interesting. The bolt and bolt carrier are pot metal as well, and look close enough to the real thing. Minus, of course, the nozzle. The recoil spring is also reminiscent of the real thing, and these two parts come out relatively similar to an actual AK. The recoil spring is quite soft. This allows the gun to cycle at very low temperatures. However, this can mean racking the gun can feel sluggish. I've had instances where the gun won't go back into battery if I tilt the rifle up. Many people suggest replacing the recoil spring with a 115% spring, especially if you're using propane. But I haven't done that to this gun. The trigger group is not realistic at all, but really, how often are you looking in there? Personally, that's something I don't care about. The dry fire system is, in my opinion, the most well-designed of any gas airsoft AK on the market. It's this little tab on the side that goes either below or on top of this other tab. Below means the AK will stop on empty, and above means that the AK will dry fire even with no BBs. It's a very reliable system, and I love that this is built into the gun instead of each mag. The hop-up adjustment is a little weird. It's this dial on the left of the hop-up. There are numbers on the dial to tell you how far you've adjusted, but they don't correspond how you might think. When the hop-up is turned off, it will show 4 at the top, while when it's maxed out, it will show 3. You'll feel it when adjusting, but it's a bit confusing at first if you're trying to rely on the numbers. It's nice that you can adjust it without a tool, but I find it easiest to do with the recoil spring and bolt carrier removed. The mags are both the best and most annoying part about this gun. The feed lips are super tight, making loading with a speed loader quite difficult. And gassing up the mags requires that you hold it at a very specific angle. I don't know if this is a problem with my mags, but I've found that the fill valves are very picky with propane adapters. Even with the legendary Airsoft Innovations adapter, I find that it's hard to get a good fill consistently. But on the flip side, the mags are very robust. I've dropped them plenty of times, and have never broken any. I've also never had any leak. The mags are sized realistically, so they should fit in any gear designed for real AKM mags. So with all that said, how does it shoot? When it comes to the TM AKM, a lot of people also say that the gun has no recoil. I wonder if these people have actually shot one before, because while it does have less recoil compared to the VFC, I certainly wouldn't say that it's lacking in that department. The bolt carrier comes back with a satisfying thump, and the dust cover rattles just enough to remind you of the tolerances of the real thing. Is it anywhere near a real AK chambered in 7.62 by 39? Of course not. But for an airsoft gun, it's quite nice. Sure, there are harder recoiling gas guns, but I find the recoil of the TM good enough. The trigger itself has quite a light break. It's not realistic at all, but it is quite a nice trigger, allowing you to shoot as fast as you want. The bucking in it isn't bad. I only use .28 BBs, and the gun had no trouble hopping them. From what I've read, you'll need an aftermarket bucking if you want to hop anything higher, but I haven't felt the need to get one. And in game, I haven't struggled to hit anything I've wanted to. Obviously, the gun isn't stock, but I haven't actually replaced any of the internals. The gun runs fine as is, and I didn't feel the need to change any of it. Externally, I replaced the stock outer barrel with a Hephaestus 12.5-inch barrel, as well as the Dytac Draco gas block. If you want to use the Draco gas block with the stock gas tube, note that you'll either need to cut down the gas tube or the gas block, or just buy their micro Draco gas block instead and not worry about cutting down anything. On the left side of the gun, I installed the FCW AK Master Side Mount. Out of the box, the AKM does not come with any way to mount an optic, just like the real thing. This mount attaches with 2 Allen screws and lets you put any dovetail optic of your choice. If you own a TM AKM, this is probably one of the best upgrades to do. It really does open up your optic options, and there'll be no issues with holding 0, unlike some railed dust covers. Real steel AK grips fit on without issue. You'll just need a short M5 screw. I put on a Magpul K2 grip that's way more comfortable than the stock one. I replaced the fake wooden stock with an EMG 1913 stock adapter. I looked at a number of 1913 stocks before deciding to get a real SIG MCX collapsible stock. I was hoping that it could be reversed to fold to the right side, but it can't. The stock itself also has some wobble. It doesn't really affect function, but I'm a little surprised by this. I got a deal on it used, but if I bought it new, I'd be less happy about it. So what I have is my take on a modernized Draco. The Draco is probably my favorite 7.62x39 AK variant, but having a short AK is very nice. It's much easier to maneuver around than the AKM, and is lighter as well. Using the TM AK has been fun. Whether in CQB or out on the field, the gun has worked through everything. I haven't had a single failure while using it, and as an airsoft gun, it's been among the best I've owned. So, you may be surprised to hear that I'm selling it. I am, in fact, to one of you guys. You know who you are. But why am I doing this? The TM is a phenomenal airsoft gun, but it does lack in the realism department. While I care about performance, I do also use my equipment for reference and pictures on the main channel, and with the VFC AK being much closer to a real Kalashnikov, I decided to pick one of those up. If I could afford to keep both, I would. But the fact is, I'm not a rich YouTuber with $1 million sponsorships. I've had my fun with the TM, and I'm glad that it'll be going to one of you guys. So, stay tuned. I'll likely do a video on the VFC AK at some point. This will be the last video on this channel for the year. So happy holidays, and see you in the next year.